viewers. I welcome you to this session. It's my favorite session. The subject is important to me as a journalist, as a writer, and I'm absolutely happy to be interacting with my colleague, friend, and among the most important journalists in the country today, who is doing what many of our tribe members shy away from. I'll begin with a brief introduction of Kota Neelima. Kota is an author, she's a writer, she's a journalist, political commentator, political scientist, researcher, she wears basically many hats. But she writes mainly on gender and farm, agrarian distress and poverty related issues, and also what she calls democratic deficit. She's an alumna of Jawaharlal Nehru University. Well, that's been in the news for some time. And University of Delhi. She was a senior research fellow at South Asia Studies at the Paul H. Needs School of Advanced International Studies, Johns Hopkins University at Washington, D.C. And as I said, her work has mainly centered around farmer suicides, women farmers, widow-headed households, mainly in Maharashtra, Telangana and Karnataka states. Her research focuses on gender invisibilities among rural poor. For the past 16 years, Neelima has also tracked the role of state and non-state initiatives in distress alleviation, and her research identifies gaps to suggest structured interventions, especially among farmer-suicide households and high-distress rural households. So she actually goes beyond the realm of journalism and writing and looks at solutions also. Besides design, these parameters also help in assessment and monitoring to reach goals of gender empowerment as well as rural poverty alleviation. She's an author of many best-selling books, River Stones, Death of Moneylender, Shoes of the Dead and Honest Season. You will find those books at the Crosswords bookstore in the lawn. We are talking about her latest book, Widows of Vidarbha, Making of Shadows. The book has been published by Oxford University Press. Vidarbha has been in the news for all the wrong reasons, particularly in regard to agrarian crisis and continuing farmer suicides, and Kota Neelima's work is among the frontline works on the region that we belong to. So it should be important to all of us. Those who haven't picked up the copy or read it yet, this is the book. It's basically a narrative of an agrarian crisis told through the lives of 16 farm widows. If I were to call them, I would probably also call them, I'm a little at unease when I call them farm widows. But I also feel that those are women farmers who basically shoulder all the hard work and responsibilities on the field. But these stories reflect the Indian reality beyond the glitter of the cities and reveal the struggles for survival in the dark corners of the country. Neelima also tries to popularize the rural narratives through fiction, and some of the books that I enlisted here, a couple of them are at least fiction books. Kota Neelima, thanks for coming to Nagpur and talking about your work. I'll begin, before we actually delve into the book and the narrative. My first question is basically, how did you decide to explore this subject, and why did you keep the scope of this book limited to two districts of Vidarbha, Yavatmal and Amravati? I understand, I also know that these two districts have been at the forefront of the farmer suicides, but you could have easily taken a pan-India look, but you avoided that. So, could you talk about it and talk about your book?
First of all, thank you, Jaydeep, for that wonderful introduction. I must also say about Jaydeep, the amount of work he has done in Vidarbha and rural distress, on covering farmer suicides, a phenomenal journalist himself, sensitive heart and view to a better country through improving the lot of the poor. That's, I think, very rare in journalism these days. I think that's fantastic. Very happy to be here at the Vidarbha Literature Festival. I think this is one place where there is so much literature, so much thinking. ऐसे लोग हैं यहाँ पे जो सोचते हैं अपने बारे में, अपने community के बारे में, देश के बारे में. So it's a great place to have a literature festival, great place to think about books and ideas. So very glad to be here. Before, there's so much to say because I've worked so much in Vidarbha for so long. There's so much to say, but I just want to briefly talk, especially because I see a lot of young people, young faces here. It's about choosing a path in life, and that's a very risky thing, right?
Yeah.
So you need to have drive first of all, and then you need to have a kind of an interest, in the chase or. I mean, you have to have an interest so that you do not move away from the path. So that was one of the reasons why I took up study of farmer suicides, because the question which was bothering me, which led me eventually to choose my path, was, is this country really a democracy? Now I know we are a democracy, we've been told we are a democracy, we have all the structures which are identifiable with a democracy. But the thing which bothered me, and believe me, this was before I got into JNU. So JNU has nothing to do with this question. It predates my study at JNU. I got into JNU to understand through academics. Maybe I can find a solution. Maybe I can find an answer to this. I don't, because one of the center of democratic argument is representation, right? We all know what representation is. आप वोट करेंगे, आप अपने मुद्दों पे वोट करेंगे, आप अपनी सरकार बनाएंगे, वो सरकार आपके लिए पॉलिसी बनाएगी और फिर आप उसे करेक्ट करेंगे या वैसे चलेगा. तो more and more people become aware, उनकी वोटिंग इतनी ही शार्पर और to the point होगी और गवर्नमेंट ऐसे अपने आप को रेस्पॉन्सिव बनाएगी. ये है at the heart of democracy, isn't it? We vote, we are empowered to change, punish, correct the governments. होता है ऐसे क्या? If that were the case, would we be still poor in this country? Are we able to solve any of these problems, many of our problems, through the vote? That was fundamental. So that didn't work. Academics didn't work. Journalism didn't work.
Right.
Sorry to say, but I mean, I was in a
It has its limitations. In the current half, but
yeah, and especially आज के दिन हम बहुत बात करते हैं journalistic freedom, issues about journalists taking sides, not being neutral. But मेरे experience में हमेशा ऐसे ही रहा है. Journalists have always taken sides in this country. I mean, there is no such thing as journalistic freedom. I'm sorry for my journalist bhais here, but the point is, this is how it is. There is journalistic obedience, and I have never been very good with obedience. Sorry to say. So anyway, so when I came to Vidarbha, it was because of the farmer suicide. This was 2004, 2005. You would remember those times when the crisis were really reaching a peak. There was 1,000 farmer suicides just in 6 districts of Western Vidarbha. This was unforeseen. This was clearly a making of a crisis. हम हो सकता है for the media and the people who are watching it from Delhi इतना impact नहीं हुआ, but आप लोगों को जरूर हुआ होगा. And I wanted to come and understand the questions which I was talking about. Are we a democracy? And why are farmer suicides happening? Are we a democracy? Why is Vidarbha being neglected? Are we a democracy? Why are people of Vidarbha poor despite their human and natural resources? These are the questions which got me into understanding farmer suicides in Yavatmal and Amravati, 2 districts. After, of course, entire survey of the area, I discovered these were the 2 districts which had the maximum farmer suicides. And in many cases, which I want to talk later on if we have time, the same.
But you wanted to delve deeper rather than starting slow.
No, I did both. But actually, as we were discussing before also, it's in the deeper narratives that you get the details. And I'll shortly talk about the findings of what I got when I studied them in depth. But before that, I wanted to just say that the numbers of farmer suicides which I am talking about are the government members, which basically follow a particular process. एक process है जिसमें पता चलता है कि कौन पात्र है, कौन अपात्र है. So there is such a thing. आप लोगों को पता होगा.
The government at one point called them eligible suicides.
Still does.
Eligible suicides. They still do.
Still does.
As if it's like eligible bachelors and ineligible.
हाँ. So eligibility पात्र और अपात्र. तो पात्र आत्महत्या क्या होती है? पात्र आत्महत्या वो होती है जहाँ पे उनको compensation मिल सकता है government से. So how much is that compensation? It's about 1 lakh. The question of course is the naming of the suicide. So what I'm saying is, for every suicide which is found patra, for every member which is found eligible in this state, in this region, suicide, there are at least 2 or 3 suicides, which means there are around 1,000 suicides more rare. There are at least 2, 3, even 5,000 suicides in these 6 or 5, 6 districts. जो दूसरी बात मैं कहना चाहती थी about the finding, which again goes to answer that question. 15 साल लगा है. I have stayed here for 15 years studying this. This is one place which I do not belong to, Vidarbha. I do not even belong to Maharashtra. But this was the intensity of the problem. ये इतनी ज़्यादा है यहाँ पे. I wanted to study this. Now I am studying Marathwada because Marathwada has become the epicenter of so many other problems, including power suicide. The one finding I find briefly, just to cover the finding, कि हमारे यहाँ poverty की definition is that definition which suits the government. हमारे यहाँ causes of poverty की वो definition है which suits the government. वो इसलिए है क्योंकि अगर आप performance indicator बनाना चाहते हैं किसी भी government के लिए, कि भाई कोई politician elect हुआ, उसने अपनी achievements कैसे दिखानी है, तो those will have to be very easily accessible parameters. कितने लोगों को पढ़ाया है, कितनी नौकरियां लगवाई, कितने करोड़ बिजली पहुंचाई. These are generally the parameters. What I found, these have to be redefined. कितने लोगों को नौकरी दिया है, ट्रेनिंग दिया है, are they able to do the jobs? कितनी खाली पड़ी है नौकरियां? अगर बिजली दिया है, are they, is it very expensive? Are they able to use the poor people? This जो आप बिजली कह रहे हैं, has it led to empowerment of their life? That's तो इस redefinition के बिना poverty will not, or even not even poverty, that's a larger, bigger aim, but even the smaller problems will never be solved because there is a misrepresentation of the problem. And one of the ways of redefinition is through gender. Because तब से ये policy has always identified women, as you correctly said, through their identity of the family, not through their occupation. They are also farmers. They are in fact more of farmers than the male farmers. The male farmers just have land in their name. It's the female farmers or the women who are working from the age of 12 to 13 years on the lands of their fathers because their brothers are going to school. और इनको policy, इनको programs, इनको governance से बाहर रखा गया. That is what I mean by redefinition. हम कभी नहीं solve कर पाएंगे any of these problems अगर if we go by the government definition of what are the problems. That was the basis of the book. Widows of Vidarbha. I call them widows mainly because the government, the state calls them. And unfortunate है कि whether it is in the application forms, whether it is in any articulation of policy, even the Women and Child Development Department, which is supposed to be sensitive towards women, they all identify them through their family identity. Women farmers do not have any other identity, only because of one reason, according to the state. क्यों? उनके नाम पे जमीन नहीं होती, उनके नाम पे जमीन हो नहीं सकती. तो मतलब क्या है? But they do not exist. Now that is where my book begins actually.
Well, I want to continue with this thread, Neelima, but I wanted to, because there are lots of young readers here, and I think I will begin with a request before we go into the same thread. If you want to read out a passage or two, you should quickly do that so that the readers get a flavor of what the book is about.
Okay.
And personal anecdotes also.
So,
but let it be crisp so that we move on to more important other discussions.
well, it's just a page, and it's going to crisply explain
Yes.
what's the problem with farmers. ये आत्महत्या क्यों करते हैं? क्योंकि काफी लोगों के दिमाग में ये प्रश्न उठता होगा कि शेतकरी आत्महत्या होती क्यों है? I mean, why don't they do something else, right?
Yes.
Why don't they move away from villages, etc. Several things. But I'll read from the book.
Marie Antoinette kind of questions.
Exactly.
Why don't they eat cake?
So let me just read from the book for the simple reason that I do not want to miss any point. One can also discuss this later. But this is from the introduction of the book. Why do farmers commit suicide? Farmer suicides have been taking place across India for years now. The studies of rural distress reveal deeply rooted tenacious causes such as lack of irrigation, fragmentation of land, unsuitability of seeds, inadequate sources of credit. Despite the democratically elected governments that claim to represent a country where over half the population is dependent on farming, agriculture has been consistently ignored at a steep cost to farmers' lives. Remedies have been tried. The state waived loan waivers to small and marginal farmers ahead of elections, and after elections, such SOPs were criticized for disrupting credit discipline among the borrowers. ये कहा जाता है, you might recollect, कि लोन वेवर्स से आदत खराब हो जाती है. ये कहते हैं कि गरीब किसान की आदत खराब हो जाती है पैसे वापस देने की, इसलिए लोन वेवर्स के खिलाफ होता है. बट आफ्टर इलेक्शंस, बिफोर इलेक्शंस, everybody is supporting loan waivers. The crisis provided an opportunity to try more adventurous remedies. Farmers were cornered into using expensive, genetically engineered seeds, even when these added heavily to the cost of cultivation of crops like cotton, further indebting the farmer. Although this generated hope, which helped the governments get re-elected, none of the remedies worked. The question remained, why did farmers commit suicide? Bringing a bad name to popular governments. मतलब इतना सारा कुछ किया तब भी farmers committed suicide. So it became prudent and necessary for the state that other causes of suicides were discovered, such as alcoholism. ये जो मैं बता रही हूँ, ये government files की findings हैं. This is not from informal conversations. They are based on formal conversations and documents of the government. वो कहते हैं farmer suicides इन कारणों से होती है. Alcoholism, depression, vices. They say that farmers are blamed for being ambitious, extravagant, adventurous, lazy, cowardly, too emotional. So government ने camps set किए. Camps were set up to help them cope with life stresses. Charities were organized. Advice was dispensed. Additionally, the state found the usual way of containing the situation. Not all farmers' suicides would be recognized as such. Simple है. अगर 10,000 लोगों ने आत्महत्या करी है और गवर्नमेंट को लग रहा है कि इससे हमारी छवि को इम्पैक्ट पड़ेगा, कम कर दीजिए नंबर्स. There were rules to that. So मतलब अब rules हैं.
Some states have actually stopped reporting farmer suicides.
Zero farmer suicides.
States which say
no farmer
after 2012.
So that's easy. I mean that's one way of dealing with it. No. So now there are rules to die. There are rules to committing suicides in this country, especially for farmers. Only those deceased farmers who had unpaid bank loans in their names or in the name of their families and had land in their name or in the name of the families were considered to fall in the farmer suicide category. These correct suicides of the farmers verified through this process earned them compensation money, which was given to their widows. Once again, the state expected that such monetary relief would make the farmers and voters in general appreciate the kindness of the politicians and re-elect them. And once again, it was not a remedy. The question still persisted. Why did farmers commit suicide despite such generosity of the state? Again, it was imperative for the state to find other reasons to explain why it failed to contain farmer suicides. It was believed that the compensation itself encouraged the farmers to kill themselves, that the rupees 1 lakh might have increased the toll, and that the farmers who died due to other reasons were shown as farmer suicides. अगर आप farmer suicides के बारे में इंक्वायरी करने, रिसर्च करने किसी भी गवर्नमेंट ऑफिस में जाएंगे, पहले के 30 मिनट या 40 मिनट के अंदर अंदर ये आर्गुमेंट जरूर आएगा कि मैडम वो इसलिए करते हैं क्योंकि वो 1 लाख रुपए चाहिए होता है. This is generally, I'm not going to mention which level officers, but generally this is what the argument. That's the kind of country we live in. It was believed that the compensation itself encouraged the farmers to kill themselves. It was insinuated that farmers could do anything for money, even die. But the state knew the truth because the compensation procedure ensured that each farmer suicide was investigated in depth. The state was aware that farmer suicides happened because of one essential reason: the farmer's sense of fairness and responsibility was hurt by his continued inability to repay the debts. This explanation was in stark contrast to the ease with which the state and politicians tried arbitrary solutions to farmer distress and blamed farmers for their own deaths. It was an inconvenient truth that would have shifted the guilt to the state and was therefore never told. Meanwhile, the question continued: why did farmers commit suicide? Denting the image of every charismatic Prime Minister of the country and every dynamic Chief Minister of the state.
Taking your first question and taking the same street forward, your book talk about many invisibilities that women farmers face, particularly the women who have lost their husbands who have committed suicide. And your slug of the book also says making of the shadows. Could you elaborate on what you mean by those invisibilities and why are you using the metaphor of shadows in order to kind of address this kind of invisibility that even I have seen that women farmers are virtually missing in kind of in not just the state but even in understanding this problem. There are very rare accounts of women from their points of view. What does agrarian crisis mean? What do you mean by those invisibilities? What kind of invisibilities are you talking about?
I think one of the first invisibilities is from the state itself, which doesn't consider that महिला है, उसको क्या मालूम? किसानी के बारे में, खेती के बारे में, पेड़ों के और पौधों के बारे में, right? बैंक लोन्स के बारे में क्या मालूम? Schools के बारे में क्या मालूम? क्या पढ़ रहे हैं बच्चे क्या मालूम? There is this assumption. I'm not saying it is limited to the government. It's also social. There is this assumption that anything which has income attached to it.
Yeah, I've seen that when you interview a farm woman, you enter a household, more often than not, there would be neighbors or men in the family who would begin answering. I don't know whether you've confronted this.
Yes.
Even before you can actually reach out to the women and ask, what do you think?
No, actually, I just remembered an anecdote. तो क्या हुआ एक दिन सुबह ऐसे रिसर्च के this was in यवतमाल.
Yeah.
एक गांव में पहुंची मैं and this was really early and तो वो जो लेडी थी वो अभी खेती पे she is also a farm labor. Now that's another thing. एक महिला अपने हस्बैंड के खेत पे काम करती है, अपने घर को देखती है, घर पे पूरा काम करती है. Then she goes and खेत पे मजदूरी करती है 6 बजे तक, वापस आती है, वापस पूरा घर का काम करती है, and then she gets to sleep for about 5 to 6 hours a day. That's generally the. So मैं पहुंची वहाँ सुबह तो I had met her for the first time. No, her for the first time, and the in-laws I had met before. पहली बार उनको ऐसे बात नहीं करवाने दिया उनको, दूसरी बार मुझे ये मिली, मैंने सोचा कि बात करते हैं. तो I asked her a series of questions, but one of the questions which made her eyes fill up was that after the farmer suicide, 1 साल हुआ था उनके पति की डेथ के बाद. तो मैंने ये पूछा उनको कि जिंदगी कैसे बदली, and she didn't answer. And तो मुझे जब लगा कि वो बहुत इमोशनल हो गई है, तो मैंने भी क्वेश्चन को तुरंत बदला. मैंने बोला खेती कैसे चल रही है, बच्चे कैसे पढ़ रहे हैं, हेल्थ कैसा है. तो मैंने सोचा थोड़ा सा लेस इमोशनल बनाती हूँ. वो कुछ बोल नहीं पाई. इसके बीच में उनके जो आसपास सारे बैठे हुए थे, बिकॉज इन दैट स्मॉल रूम देवर शी इन वन कॉर्नर, वो जमीन पे बैठी हुई थी. जितने भी बाकी मेल मेंबर्स ऑफ द फैमिली थे वहाँ एक खाट जिसे कहते हैं बेंच के रूप में उस पर बैठे हुए थे। तो उन्होंने आंसर किया खेत में ये हो रहा है, इस बार फसल ऐसी हुई, ये हुआ वो। तो मुझे तो उनसे बात करनी थी, तो मैंने एक दो बार उनको इंटरप्ट किया, उनको बोलने दीजिए। तो उनको क्या पता होगा मैडम, हम बता रहे हैं ना, देखो 1 हेक्टेयर से एकड़ में इतना हो रहा है, ये हो रहा है। मैंने फिर सुना, तो इतने में वो लेडी उठ के अंदर चली गई और मुझे लगा कि वो फिर वापस वही पॉइंट की उनका वर्षन नहीं मिलेगा। और ये रिसर्च मेरा तो रिसर्च में ये नाम नहीं आ पाएगा, क्योंकि I wanted to only talk about women who were speaking. और मेरा एक ये फेल्यूर रहा है कि मैं उनको बुलवा नहीं पाई। तो मैं वही सोच रही थी कि मुझे इनके पति के फैमिली या फिर रिश्तेदार या फिर दोस्त जो मेल मेंबर्स हैं उनका वर्षन तो चाहिए नहीं, उनका वर्षन तो सबके पास है ना, ये देश बनी है उनके वर्षन से, राइट। मुझे उस लेडी का वर्षन चाहिए जो अंदर चली गई। तो मैं बहुत दुखी हो रही थी। एंड आई रिमेंबर सुबह का टाइम था, तो बच्चे स्कूल जाने की तैयारी हो रही थी। तो हम सब, मैं सोच रही थी मैं क्या करूँ, अब नेक्स्ट क्या करें। तो मैं सोचा चलते हैं। इतने में वो लेडी वापस आई, 2 कप चाय लेके, छोटे कप चाय, और एक मुझे दिया, नहीं पहले एक अपने फादर इन लॉ को दिया, ससुर को दिया, बुजुर्ग जो सबसे कमरे में सबसे बुजुर्ग वही थे, और दूसरा मुझे दिया। और 1 मिनट के लिए सारे लोग शांत उसकी तरफ देख रहे हैं। तब मुझे समझ आया उसके पास ये पावर नहीं था डिसाइड करने के लिए कि गेस्ट को चाय देनी चाहिए या नहीं देनी चाहिए, बट उसने डिसाइड किया कि मिलेगा चाय को।
And then she starts talking.
And then she says it's you're absolutely right. She sits down, अपनी जगह पे बैठी, और वापस मैंने पूछने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ी। उन्होंने बोला देखिए मेरे नाम पे जमीन नहीं है, मैं कहाँ से, और उन्होंने अपनी पूरी स्टोरी बताई। मैं विश्वास के साथ कह रही हूँ, उस 1 साल में किसी ने उनसे ये प्रश्न नहीं पूछा था कि आपकी जिंदगी में क्या बदलाव हुआ, आपकी जिंदगी की तकलीफें क्या हैं। और वो क्वेश्चन की वजह से उन्होंने सोचा आज तो मैं आंसर करूंगी, बट ऑफ कोर्स उसके मतलब उसकी कम्युनिटी में उसकी जो पावर्स हैं वो भी समझ आती है कि उसको 1 कप चाय बनाने के पहले 4 लोगों से पूछना।
Do you think Kota, the farming system as a whole? I mean, I have 2 questions before I open the floor for the speakers. One is, do you see that our agrarian systems, farming systems, are antagonistic to women farmers? A. And B, in my own journeys, I haven't come across very many examples where young women lost their husbands, got remarried. I just remember one example, and I think I have a data of about 1,000 plus family farm households. But barring one, I can't think of a single. What does it say about our society, particularly the rural society? 2 quick answers, and then I open the floor before the buzzer starts.
I can't believe.
Yeah, it's just over. We just got started. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. There's so much to say. एक कारण जो मुझे लगता है, there is so much to again say about the invisibilities जो हम बात कर रहे थे, कि there is tradition, there is status, there are so many invisibilities which are imposed, which are all in the book actually. जो एक महिला पे impose किया जाता है कि अगर आप visible होगी तो आपको ये benefits नहीं मिलेंगे from family, from community, from state also. So one of the invisibility is state procedure. How the state makes sure that the lady remains invisible or in her particular role. The second thing about शादियाँ क्यों नहीं करती हैं वापस महिला? This is something which had bothered me also, and now I understand.
All your 16 examples also don't speak about that.
Yes. One example, she got married later after the book. Why? एक कारण है क्योंकि जब अगर उनके बच्चे होते हैं तो जहाँ वो दूसरी शादी करना चाहती हैं, that person doesn't accept the children. तो वो कहाँ जाएंगे वो बच्चों को लेके? इसलिए वो छोड़ नहीं सकती है और शादी नहीं कर सकती। वो 21 साल की बच्ची, उसके 2 बच्चे, पति नहीं है, आत्महत्या हो गई, उसके पास पढ़ाई नहीं है क्योंकि उनके माता पिता ने उनकी जल्दी शादी कर दी और उनकी लेबर, उनके वर्क की जरूरत थी माता पिता को, इसलिए उनको स्कूलों से निकाल दिया ताकि उनके ब्रदर्स पढ़ सके। उनकी चाइल्डहुड वो थी, that is the kind of childhood she had. She started working from the age of 12, 13 years. She has continuously worked from the husband's land. Now she has to work on other people's lands, right? And उसमें उसके 2 बच्चे हैं, वो पूरी जिंदगी उनको पालेगी. That is her entire life, how to survive, how to struggle. Now the thing is that why don't they get remarried? Because they would want support. They would want somebody to support her household. But the husband, the other man, doesn't accept her children. In cases where they have remarried, it is only if she doesn't have a child. So her identity is only if she can reproduce. If she has produced children, she is of a separate category. If she has not, she is of a separate category. And this is 50% of our population. We were just discussing about urban problems. This is not just rural. These are social problems across India, and we call ourselves democracy. 50% of our population is living under these rules of, I don't know any other word, but exploitation.
My other question was, do you find that the farming systems are antagonistic, meaning right from credit structures, credit systems to even mechanization of farming? Although women farmers actually shoulder most of the farming responsibilities, whether it is sowing and the harvest. In your study, did you come across this particular gap which needs to be addressed if you have to at all address the economic challenges of agrarian society?
Exactly, Jaydeep. I mean, अगर हम सोच रहे हैं कि अगले जो 70 साल में हुआ है स्टोरी हमारे गरीबों के साथ वो रिपीट ना हो अगले 70 साल में, we have to start looking, we ourselves as citizens have to start looking at how governments are looking at poverty. And one of the ways of doing it is through looking at it from the woman's point of view. आज के दिन भी, why is it that most of the welfare, any activity which has got to do with the women, is under a particular department? Men के साथ तो नहीं होता है sir. There is no man and welfare department. Why is that everything which we look at woman has to only mainly be through her maternity, her fertility, her that identity? Why are we not looking at her income generation capacities? Why are we not looking at her as a businesswoman or a farmer or a person who can support a household on her own, which she does? When a farmer dies, it's the widow who runs the household.
Rujita, we have 10 minutes, right, for the session? Because you're saying 2 minutes to go, so I can open it for the... Okay. Right. Readers, I would welcome questions, pointed questions. Those who have read the book, please ask. Those who haven't read the book can ask her questions about the subject. So shoot your questions, but my request would be to be specific about the questions. If you have comments, please reserve it for her after the session. Yeah.
Sorry, I haven't read the book, so it's part of India you're from, obviously. But we're from Vidarbha, and what I don't see you commenting on is, in this region, women are, how do you call it, you have that system wherein you have a matriarchal system, and then you have a feudal kind of a system. What I don't see reflecting from your conversation is whether in this region you noticed anything of that sort, because I belong to this, I've traveled quite a lot. I've lived here for a long time. This is the question. The one thing that I really admire about this place is that the women are, the elder women in this household are seen as the decision maker. Okay? And you can ask anybody over here, especially in the rural Vidarbha and the districts that you spoke of, Amravati and Yamuna. The elder women are the ones that take decisions. It might be that the land is not in their name right now or whatever, but that also has changed quite a lot. But they are. But that doesn't reflect from anything that you've just spoken about. Or was it that you were very clearly biased that I don't want to look at it from that angle and write a book? That's your problem.
Oh, I wish I could say what I wanted to say. I wish I could just, make a movie out of it. But I'm a PhD in methodology, so I have to be very strict with my research. I have to make sure every word I have written actually can be corroborated, can be supported, and can be also quoted by future scholars. Also, I have to make sure that the younger generation which is reading my books are guided in the right way. But I wish I could be, if I were to be biased, if I were to be one-sided, or I would definitely have written a completely different kind of book and not a book like this. To come back to what you said, I think there is a huge sociological difference. Every caste, every situation deals with women in a different way. When you look at poor people who have just 2 acres of land, and when they see their girls as a burden and they have to work on the field so that their brothers are going to school, excuse me sir, you cannot say no. This is, you may live here, but
we can keep the arguments for the later time. When you can keep.
I love Vidarbha. That's why I spent half my life here. I love Vidarbha. That's exactly why I'm talking about the problems. You want not to talk about the problems and tell you that everything is fine. I can make a movie out of it with a popular star, but I'll not be able to write a book about it.
Yeah.
Working on these problems of Vidarbha. So you mentioned about participation, or rather non-participation of government in providing solutions to the problem. Is there any way we as citizens of Vidarbha can pitch in to make the government maybe work towards the solutions?
Fantastic. That's a wonderful approach. Rather than denying the problem, I think it's a great idea to actually engage with it and see what we can do. See, as I was saying, there is a need for redefining issues of poverty. गरीबी का कारण क्या है? ये हमें इस बेसिस पे नहीं डिसाइड करना चाहिए कि गवर्नमेंट को क्या सूट कर रहा है. अगर हम ये कहें कि गरीबी के कारण इसलिए है कि वहाँ पे 20 नौकरियां दे, तो गवर्नमेंट will say, okay, we have given 20 jobs and our job is done. What's happening is the ability of the government to do something is being imposed on the situation instead of the situation actually what requires being done by the government. What the citizens can do is chart these changes, these differences, but that can only come when you actually accept the problem. And then we actually start looking at it. One of my ways of doing it, which I have been doing it in various districts of Vidarbha, is to go to a district, ma'am, let's say 4-5 जो आपको immediate लग रही है problems, go to the administration, get their response कि आप क्या कर रहे हैं इसके बारे में. If you are not able to do it, what can you do about it? That's something.
Kota, could we do a small thing? Let's take a couple of questions, 2-3 questions, and then let's save time. Okay, so this one.
Government initiative Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, and I went to few villages regarding their problem. There were few lady farmers. I asked them that.
Question, please.
Yeah, I'm coming.
Yeah.
So the government is giving some compensation to them. So and why don't you work? So they said कि हमारा निकल जाता है इतने. And your research says कि they are being stopped from going to that land and working.
So yeah, I'll just quickly respond to what she said. One of the great things about Vidarbha is the resilience. There is no way they are going to give up. And I like the fact that despite so much distress, that's why I'm saying that some of the highest number of women-headed households are in Vidarbha. And they are taking care of not just their family, but the family of the husband also. So, they develop the home. वो सोचते हैं आशावादी ही रहना है, and under whatever circumstances, nobody is helping them do that. That's my problem. Now that what you are saying, that how much access do they have to welfare? If that's what you.
There's a contrary thing.
He says that he was asking a question saying, in his observation under the government program, the compensation or whatever the welfare dole was adequate for them to not work, and you are saying that you are actually talking contradictory. That is what his question is.
Personally, my understanding of it is that at that level of poverty, adequate is a very difficult thing to decide. We know the debate between 32 rupees per day. गरीब को वो बहुत होता है, so कैसे डिसाइड कर सकते हैं गरीब को बहुत होता है, पहली बात। दूसरा, again that's what I mean, I want to talk about the women of Maharashtra actually on the whole. Great amount of resilience, great amount of self-respect, a sense of honor. They never say that हो नहीं रहा है, but you can see in the way they are living, the silences between their words say much more than their words.
I think I'll just take one question because we are short of time.
I very much agree with the fact that when it comes to women's development, a lot of the factors resort to the fecundity or the fertility. Even the Prime Minister's Janani Surashya Yojana or development programs, a lot of them concentrate on this aspect. However, my question is that, as you said, it is a social problem. It also becomes an economical problem. Social problems tend to be very hard to be sorted, and they say that primary education is actually contains a lot of the solutions to these problems. For us as citizens, how would you suggest we can bring this social change, whether it is equality, whether it is women empowerment? As citizens or as future teachers or future members of this country, at our level, how do you think, on a social level, how can we bring that change?
Thanks for a wonderful question, and I'm very, my heart becomes warm to see that so much of, especially the younger people, want to engage with the problem and actually see. The thing is, that's what I was saying, that we need to redefine. हमें पहले ये समझना चाहिए कि गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसी, देखिए गवर्नमेंट वो कर रही है वो जो करना चाहती है एंड कह रही है कि भाई ये हम कर सकते हैं, प्लीज एक्सेप्ट व्हाट वी कैन डू। मेरा ये है कि लेट्स टेक इट द अदर वे अराउंड। हम पहले ये बताएं कि ग्राउंड पे जरूरत किस चीज की है। नाउ आस्क द गवर्नमेंट टू डू व्हाट दे शुड डू। सो इफ यू आर लुकिंग एट लेट्स से medical health or education, the latest ASL report says that even when the students are in the class of 8 or 9, they can't even write a sentence properly, right? So हम ये नहीं कह रहे कि चलो ये that generation is over when we blame the government, blame the policy कि इन्होंने वो नहीं किया, उस पार्टी ने ये नहीं किया, इस पार्टी ने, we are done with that. We are at this phase where we either do something now or it's going to get worse. So the only way is to make sure the government itself is aware of these 10 problems or 5 problems in their unit. So अगर आप यहाँ रहते हैं, नागपुर में रहते हैं, नागपुर also has very high in terms of district, very high pharmacies है. So हम वहाँ पे उनको study करें, women headed households को study करें, women farmers को study करें. बहुत मुश्किल वाला काम बिल्कुल नहीं है. All you have to do is identify, sample correctly, methodologically correctly आप देखें, findings को लें, make them public. You have social media with you. Make them public. Make sure that the government policy matches the ground instead of the policy being where it is and the truth being where it is. दोनों match नहीं कर रहे. But great question. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kota. I think the conversation could go on outside the hall. I invite the readers to kind of continue with your conversation with her. She is going to be here around, and her books are available at the stall. So those who haven't picked up the copies, they could get the signed copies there. I'll just finish with the last couple of observations, that this issue, the suicides by farmers, have to be set in the or seen in the context of the larger economic recession or the depression that is plaguing the countryside. There are exceptional regions, Western Maharashtra for instance, you will find the farmers there far more different than the farmers say in Bundelkhand or in Vidarbha in North Karnataka. This book actually brings about a post-suicide element or a situation of the family seen through the eyes of women, which is far rarely being talked about. How do you see your own situation or a situation of the families through the eyes and the lens of the women and gender is something that this book talks about and then sets the agrarian crisis in a different perspective. Kota, thanks ever so much for coming here and talking about your book. Readers, thank you very much for having Is there
The written by our
Please give us a bit of